Our scripture reading this morning is from Luke 6, verse 45, and James, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 through 2. A good man produces good deeds from a good heart, and an evil man produces evil deeds from his hidden wickedness. Whatever is in the heart overflows into speech. And James, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 and 2. Dear brothers, don't be too eager to tell others their faults, for we all make many mistakes. And when we teachers of religion, who should know better, do wrong, our punishment will be greater than those it would be for others. If anyone can control his tongue, it proves that he has perfect control over himself in every other way. I thought I'd speak to you today about sticks and stones. Sticks and stones. But before I start, I have to tell you that I'm a Baptist. Been a Baptist since I was 12 years old. I'm currently the treasurer and a deacon at University Baptist Church, where I've been there since 1972. That automatically tells you that I'm old. So if I have you stand at the wrong time or sing the wrong verse or whatever, please forgive me, okay? I'll do the best I can. I hope you've had a good week. And I hope you have a better week this week. You know, I'm truly humbled and honored and appreciative for you inviting me out here today. I've only been in this church one other time until I met Debbie this past week to get a hymn book and so forth. It's a beautiful church, beautiful people, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm humbled to be here. So if you want to hear me, you don't have to listen to a Baptist a little bit, okay? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words won't hurt me. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words won't hurt me or harm me. I've heard this my whole life, haven't you? I've heard it my whole life. Where did it come from? Did somebody make it up? Probably. Somebody said it? Probably. But sticks and stones will break my bones, but words won't harm me. It's an old English saying. It first appeared in the Christian Recorder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church on March the 22nd, 1862. 1862. It's been around. We used it a lot for our children, didn't we? When other kids would say stuff at school and so forth, we'd say, now sticks and stones will break your bones, but words won't hurt you. Matthew used to tell me, but you didn't hear these words. You didn't hear what came out. You didn't hear what they said. You weren't there and so forth. But we use it as a method of defense for them, to help our children get by with things. It would also help them, give them strength to handle problems and so forth. I'd like to say it worked all the time, but it didn't, did it? Not always. Words that we use are important, but words can also hurt, can't they? Words can also hurt. How many of you, and you don't have to raise your hand, I'll raise mine because I have. How many of you have said something you wish you could take back? How many times have we said something that we wish we could take back? How many of us have said that as soon as we said it, thought, why did I say that? What was my reason behind that? That's going to cause problems, and it usually did. How many times have we said things that came back? Somebody said, well, I heard you, Duaine Fitzgerald, you said that. How many times has that come back? A lot. How many times have we tried to defend ourselves? And maybe give a reason why we said it and so forth. And what we end up doing is just digging that hole a little bit deeper, doesn't it? The best to say I was wrong. But we all do it. We all use words sometimes that hurt. You know, I saw a demonstration one time where a lady got up and she asked for 2 volunteers. And she brought out 2 big tubes of Colgate toothpaste. She said, here's the contest. how quickly can you empty these Colgate tubes? So they jumped in, they started squeezing, it went everywhere. She looked at him, she said, that's pretty good, that's a pretty good time. Now, put it back. Put it back into the toothpaste holder. You can't do it, can you? It's impossible to get it back. Well, you know what? If we say things sometimes, we can't get it back. When it rolls off our tongue sometimes, we can't get it back. It's out there, and we got to live with it. How many times do we get things misinterpreted? So-and-so said this, but really they meant this, and so forth. I guess I'll tell you my age because I still like watching those old Andy Griffith shows. I still love to watch them. They always seem to me like they had a good meaning in the end for some reason. It always was something good that happened and so forth. If you remember, there was one story, and I haven't seen it in a long time. It's where Barney had bought this Ouija-type board. It was called Count Telected. And if he rubbed a little boy's red head for 3 times, he'd get 3 wishes, a little boy would. Well, he rubbed Obie's head, and he got 3 wishes. His first wish, he wanted a jackknife, and he got it. Second wish, he wanted something else, and I can't remember what it was. And the third one was, he said, I want Miss Crump to, and Barney stopped him. He said, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you want. I know exactly, and I'll take care of it. Well, what Barney thought and what Opie had was 2 different things. Opie wanted his Miss Crump to be his 6th grade teacher. Barney thought he wanted Miss Crump to marry his dad. So Barney gets a whole town uproar about the wedding. They're going to get married. And it's blah, 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 blah. And it went on and on like that. And finally, at the end there, when Andy told Barney, we're not getting married. And he said, but Opie wished it, and he got 3 wishes. He said, yeah. Opie said, I didn't wish to get married, for my dad to get married. He said, I wish Miss Crump would be my 6th grade teacher. And Barney went all to pieces. He started picking stuff out of the trash can he'd thrown away. But we misinterpret sometimes what people say, don't we? We misinterpret what they say. Sometimes our intentions are good. Sometimes they're the best thing in the world. But you know what? Saying things and doing things sometimes doesn't necessarily come out well. Our little saying that words won't hurt or harm me, I would say words do hurt and they do harm sometimes. They can ridicule a person's esteem and confidence. They can tear it down. And word can hurt family members and families. They can break up homes. And words can be interpreted wrong. In this age of social media, I hear these stories where children commit suicide because of bullying and so forth like that. And I think this is so sad for something like this to happen. But it happens, folks. It happens a lot. What does James say? James says, don't be eager to tell others their faults, for all of us make mistakes. And isn't that so true? I can look around and find fault with everything except myself. And that's where I should be looking first, isn't it? But we as a group of people sometimes have a tendency to look at other people's faults and say things that we shouldn't say and do things we shouldn't do. James said, if you can control your tongue, you have perfection in many other ways. Luke says, whatever's in the heart overflows into speech. We need to strive to do good things, not evil. Be helpful and not hurtful. Be helpful and not hurtful. This, over the last month, I guess it is, I'm not sure what the date was, the terrible floods in North Carolina, in Virginia, and so forth, has been awful. It's been horrible. And I can tell you, as somebody that stands before you today, I was involved in the Camille flood. It was August the 19th, 1969. We were practicing football at Rockbridge High School, the old Rockbridge High School, when the darkest cloud came up I've ever seen. Never seen anything like it. We were tickled to death because football practice was over. We could go in, take a shower, go home, and I took 2 cheerleaders home and stayed at their house much too long. So I was leaving there, going home down 56 and up the mountain to where I lived, and a VDOT truck stopped me and says, you can't go through here. It's a slide almost half a mile long up here. So I turn around and I'm going back. But on the way through, Our mail carrier was Harold Cash. He said, "Where are you going?" He stopped the car and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going home." He said, "You get home up to Montebello and you stay there." So anyhow, I'm coming on the way through. I made a car. It's Bobby Grove, a Brooks boy, and Tracy Cash. They said, "How was the road?" I said, "The road was fine. Fine, no problems." They went up, I went on down through Vesuvius. And guess what? The road wasn't fine. A lake had burst up above in Rakevane, took the road off in a curve just like you had sliced it with a knife. Those boys went in there, and 2 of those boys were drowned that night. And that had to happen within probably less than a minute from when I came down. As I went on through, though, Harold Cash stopped me for the second time. He said, "Where are you going now?" I was coming back. I said, "I'm going to the university. My sister lives there." And he said, "No, you're not." But the words he used was very harsh, very stern. He said, "You go to Clarence's house and you stay there." Guess what? I went to Clarence's house and I stayed there. Because had I not, I would have gone into the same piece of 56 that Bobby and the other boys did. And I wouldn't be here today. I firmly believe that God saved my life that night, and I believe He spared me for a reason. Maybe it's to be a banker. Maybe it's to do what I do. I don't know. But anyhow, I firmly believe that. But what I'm trying to emphasize is the tone of his voice and the sharpness of his voice and the sternness of his voice made me listen. And you know, a 17-year-old doesn't listen a whole lot. At least I didn't. But he made me listen. He made me go to his brother's house and spend the night. And in that house, me and Curtis Cash and C.T. Cash, his son, stayed there that night. And believe you me, when we woke up the next morning, we realized what it was. Because folks, you got to remember, in '69, we didn't have Doppler radar system. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any of the modern things that we have today. So we never knew about the storm and so forth. But Camille was real. And it sounds like it's a lot what happened here, happened in Asheville and down in those counties down there. So I really believe that God has a plan for all of us. I believe He's got a plan for what we're supposed to do and so forth. But His plan wasn't for me to drive out of that hollow that night. His plan for me was to survive, and I did, and I'm thankful for that. In conclusion, words hurt, don't they? Words hurt. I was reading this week, trying to do some research, and it said, the guy wrote, said, the average tongue weighs 2 ounces. Doesn't have a bone in it. But yet, it's strong enough to break a heart. It's strong enough to break a heart. Someone said, stab the body and it will heal. But into the heart will take a lifetime. Words don't have power to hurt you unless a person who said them is close to you. And isn't that true? You know, maybe this saying should be, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will break my heart. We need to think about that this week and weeks to come. When we say something, it's out there. It's just like a toothpaste. It's out there and it won't get back. You can't take back something you said. Only thing you can do is what I've done is get down, is just go to them and say, I'm sorry. I said this. I was wrong and I apologize. It doesn't take all the hurt away, but it helps. It certainly does help. This week, here's your homework. I want you to say something kind and something to somebody. If it's just, how you doing? You look great. How you been? Hope you're doing better. Or something. Make a positive comment to someone this week. Will you do that for me? Now, I won't ask you next week if you did it or not. I'm going to trust you, okay, that you did it. But try to do things positive. Try to be helpful, not harmful. Try to make things better for someone who needs a positive comment every once in a while. And believe you me, we need it. In my Bible, I carry a card that Jean King wrote to me one Sunday. It was just a nice note that she wrote me, and she said, thank you for teaching our class today. We really appreciate it. Thank you for using God's gift, and what a gift it is. I've kept that with me for years and years and years because it meant a lot to me. Be positive with your pastor. Be positive on the things that he does and so forth. Because positivity goes a long way. It goes a long way indeed.